Coming to you live from Soyuz, BC. It's Roads Untraveled, baby.
Hi, my name is Tanner Erickson. This is my 2004 350Z. I bought the car in 2013. I was 17 years old. I imported it from California. And it was just a stock motor, Greddy twin turbo setup, nothing too fancy. The dyno sheet said 420 at the wheels, which it was not.
All right, you guys, what is going on? Today is going to be, let's say, a lesson on power, okay? Running the back roads. And so here we have a twin turbo 350Z, okay? So about 814 horsepower at the wheels, and then, yeah, about just over 600 pound-feet of torque, but it's all at the top end. So basically, how Tanner was explaining it to me is that with these engines, the way to make them last, the way to really have that longevity, is to basically put in a higher profile camshaft and kind of push that peak torque and that peak power higher up to the engine, so that, especially with big turbos, you're not having an incredible amount of load at low RPMs on all these other components. Oh wow, yep. So loud. Oh yeah, okay, with the dumps out, then you hear the turbos. Oh my God, oh, that's dope. It's honestly, it's a different beast. You can really quiet it down when the dumps are closed, like really quiet it down. Holy shit. Okay, so that was my first attempt at anti-lag, you guys. Rolling anti-lag. Guys, I can't even look at the speedometer. I would love to tell you how fast we just went from like from like 5 kilometers an hour to 15 kilometers an hour. Like I said, a couple of seconds. And that no lift shift is really quick. It's got a short shifter on it, so it's really robust, but it just goes straight into gear. 3rd to 4th is just a straight pull. There's really no guessing. That's the last thing you want to do. Oh shit. Missed 4th, I think. Holy shit.
That one was alright, but it was still doing it.
Yeah. No, that was the best one I've had so far. That was a full no lift though. That was, yeah, it wasn't smooth.
You could try brake boosting now instead of holding the button.
Right.
Get it to 5. When I got the car, it had a flywheel that was loose. Someone cut down the bolts when they put it on, so the flywheel came loose. Had to pull the tranny within the first week of having the car. So that was good. Then the motor blew up, obviously, because it was stock. I didn't know anything about 350s when I bought the car, so I soon learned what the stock motors were like. I put another stock motor in it just for the time being while I plan what else I was going to do. The motor blew up about 6 months after that, which I knew was going to happen, but I had a built motor pretty much ready to go in after that. Just your standard CP Carrillo setup with 8.5 to 1 compression, ARP, everything, some big boy cams, Tomei cams. I got pretty much the biggest twins that I could get in E-compressor size turbo and stuffed them on there. So now it makes 814 at the wheels, which to the best of my knowledge is the highest horsepower VQ in the world on pump gas. That's not E85, just actual gasoline. I don't know of anybody else that's higher. I've been looking around, but 400's not enough, 600's not enough, 800's not enough. You always want more.
Okay, there we go. Honestly, the 350, this car feels incredibly planted, even at, full chat, full boost. It feels very stable and very well put together, which, can't be said for all of Nissan cars. I've driven a couple S chassis with 500-600 wheel horsepower, and those things literally feel like it's a cage or like a body, a shell with just a huge turbo strapped into it. And you feel like it's gonna just toss you off the road at any time. But honestly, it's surprising in how well it drives. On the interior here, you've just got the factory Z wheel, you've got factory Z seats, you've got the factory gauge pods up here. They've obviously been fitted with, your oil pressure and boost and whatnot. But all the other things, like these buttons on the steering wheel, this is not your cruise control button anymore, you guys, which is super cool. So you've got, you can adjust your maps with the cruise control button, and then you have your anti-lag with the other cruise control button, and then the exhaust dumps. If you want the exhaust to dump right below the car and gain some power there, that uses the seat heater buttons over here. So that's badass. I think that's badass, especially if you're gonna get pulled over. Obviously, we've got slicks on the back, so that is a dead giveaway. That is a dead giveaway, because a car 350Z with 400 horsepower does not need slicks. But when you double that, shit tends to get a little crazy. So yeah, that's that.
I've always been only imports. I grew up in a family all about American muscle, Camaros and stuff like that, but I always just like imports. Supras mainly, Mark IVs from Need for Speed Underground 1. That was my car for sure. I never really loved 350Zs. They were always nice, but they were never my favorite. They still aren't, but I like them. It's not my last car. It's really just my first. So the things on the engine that would make the car somewhat unique is it has Speed Force Racing turbo headers, which are very nice, 1 3/4 primaries, long tube, and they are hooked up to twin 67-65 CTR oilless turbos. I'm very happy with those turbos. It is a money pit, of course. I do pretty much all of the work. The only work that wasn't done by me was the dyno tuning and the install of the standalone ECU and then the little bit of head work. But the dyno tuning was done by 4Function in Kelowna, and they do a very nice job. They always treat me very well, so I would recommend them to anybody. On the current 814 at the wheels, it's at 23 PSI, and the car didn't show any signs of stopping. I actually had to ask my tuner to stop because I got scared. Because the the cylinders start to oval around 850, they say. So it can fully make 900 on the current setup, no problem on pump gas, but that's a little iffy whether it'll blow up or not. So the current front bumper setup is a little shoddy, but it's a prototype for now. Drilled some holes for the intercooler because on the previous setup the intercooler was getting hot. It's got an air filter over here for those holes, and then this set of holes is for the oil cooler. The only other exterior mods I've done is the splitter on the front and the weld wheels. Everything else is how I bought the car. I do not like the American racing wheels at all, but I'm too cheap to buy a new set. I don't like the hood pins. I don't know why someone would put those on. They're pretty tacky.
Third gear. Wow. In a car like this, you're going from, you know, let's say 60K up to 160K. That happens in the blink of an eye. And if you've never been in a car with big power like this, it's really tough to put in perspective, but the road shrinks very, very quickly. And that's when you see videos on YouTube of people spinning and, you know, crashing their high horsepower cars, because it is really tough to get a good stretch of road to use it. But when you do use it, that's what these cars are about. All these owners that we've had on the show, it is like an addiction, and I totally get it. It's an adrenaline rush, and it's something that it's not really replicable anywhere else other than like in a crazy modified car. That's another reason why I kind of love the Okanagan car culture, and we always come up here, you know, a number of times a year, because from the people we've talked to, from the people we've spoken to over the years, the people we know out here, all the builds are so different, and like the Okanagan suits or like caters to basically the entire spectrum of the automotive enthusiast. Like we have Area 27 in Oliver, obviously that's for track driving, it's for higher horsepower cars, more aero kind of focused driving, grip driving. You've got Penticton Speedway, a lot of drift events. In fact, right now I think there's a drift event going on at Penticton Speedway, and then you have drag racing, and you have straight line highway cars like this. So it's kind of our playground. As someone who grew up in Lower Mainland Vancouver area, the Okanagan in my later years has been, definitely a kind of automotive playground for us. And so far we've been lucky, and we haven't got pinched by the cops, because this thing is definitely a cop magnet, I would say.
If you're running a Tomei single exit exhaust, I think that's a big no. I mean, it's different if you're running an NA build because it's light exhaust. You don't need to make a lot of power. But for any turbo car, you shouldn't be running single exit exhaust, period. The cutouts on this car, as soon as you open the cutouts on the dyno, it makes another 50 wheel just from opening the cutouts without changing the tune at all. So that's a big step. Yes, the drag slicks on the rear are Mickey Thompson ET Street Rs, so they are DOT approved. I do have the 20s for the rear, so every once in a while I put them on and go for a long drive. The car is driven every single day, about 6 months out of the year during the summer here, every single day to work and back. It usually doesn't skip a beat. It'll break axles. I blew up a couple diffs, but they're all stock in the rear end, and it's almost quadruple the power, I think, of a stock one, so what do you expect? But yes, it is 100% daily driven. That was the point of the build. And it is ran at all 814 horsepower every day. The first pull at 800 plus, it was a different feeling, but I kind of imagined it to be a little bit crazier than it was. It's fast, it's just not fast enough still.
The shifting is the violent part. All you're thinking about is shifting. You're not even thinking about how fast the world is just like, oh my God. Anyways, thank you so much, you guys, for watching. Tanner, thanks for letting me drive your car. I really appreciate it, man. Go follow Tanner on Instagram, see what he's doing. Follow us on Instagram if you want to kind of see some of the behind the scenes stuff that we're doing on a day-to-day basis. And that's about it. We'll see you guys soon.